Okay, warning, if you happen to be one of those professionally offended, politically correct types, you need to navigate to your safe space right now, because I'm about to fulfill a promise to my viewers and show them how I build this wood pellet hobo stove. Now this is the heart of the world famous cook kit, which if you've been watching my channel you've seen many times. So to try and be a little bit more PC, I suppose I should be calling this a stick stove or a wood burning stove, and that is the screen that goes inside that makes that possible. But this is a multi-fuel stove. You can also use a homemade pop can stove that burns alcohol. Drop that right in there. Or you can also use this unit right here if you want to burn solid fuel tablets. But in this video, we're just going to focus on how to build the burner. First, let's make sure everybody's going to be safe and have yourself a good pair of safety glasses, because I am going to recommend that you use a rotary tool. That helps out a lot in this project. For the rotary tool, I use a cutting disc and a grinding piece like this one. For making the holes, a drill is going to be very handy, and I use a 3/8, 5/16, and a 1/8 bit for this project. If you're just going to do this project once, a measuring tape and of course a marker to mark your holes is very important. But to make this project repeatable, I've made myself a couple of templates just to make it a little easier to get everything lined up. Okay, now I wanted this project to be a recycling project. So make yourself some spaghetti sauce, and then you'll have a 28 fluid ounce can for the pot stand and windscreen. Then maybe have some dessert so that you have a 14 fluid ounce can that makes up the burner of the stove. The bottom support is an electric range reflector pan. You can steal that off of your stove, or maybe perhaps buy that from a dollar store. You're also going to need a mesh screen sink strainer like this one, which you can pick up at a dollar store. That's so that you can burn wood. And while you're there, you might want to pick up another sink strainer that looks kind of like this, and that's for burning solid fuel. Now don't worry about trying to remember all that. I'm going to put a list of all of the items to make this project in the description down below. Okay, I did mention that I made myself a template, and that's just to allow me to be able to repeat this project over and over again for people. But here's the important things that I want you to take away from the design of the burner. There are more holes at the bottom of the burner than there are at the top, and then there's this empty space at the top where there are no holes, and then there's these cutouts here that you can see, and they form the support for the inside of the burner. I don't know if you can see it, but right here, here, and here I leave little bits of metal, and that's what actually sits on top of the wind scoop and snaps into place. And as you can see here, I made another template for the windscreen, and the important points of this is that there are holes along the bottom and just at the top, and nothing in the middle. And then I have these little cutouts here, here, and here, which fold inside the windscreen to support my pot. Okay, I think I've covered off all the preliminary stuff. Let's get to building this thing. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the burner. We're going to use our template to mark off the holes in the can. What's important is I've marked off the 3 pieces of metal that I need to support the burner inside, and I've also marked off the place where I'm going to leave the metal for it to attach to the base. I'm going to do basically the same thing for the windscreen pot stand. Marked off the holes that I need and the places where I'm going to leave metal to be used as the pot stand. Next, I want to cut into the metal of the can, and I can probably use metal shears, but I use a Dremel for this. But the holes I'm going to need to drill, and that gets a little difficult to avoid crushing the can, so I have this log that fits the can nicely, and that way I can drill into the can without crushing it. And I have a little bigger one for the windscreen and pot stand. Drilling all these holes can get a little tricky, and that's why I start off with a 1/8 drill bit just to punch a hole through the can and all the spots that I need, and then I drill it a second time with the larger drill bit. I'm doing the same thing for the windscreen and pot stand. And now I'll switch to the 5/16 bit to drill the holes for the burner. Okay, now with that done, we'll switch to the 3/8 bit for the pot stand and windscreen. Now if you used a drill to drill all these holes, you're left with a can with a lot of really sharp bits of metal. And that's what we use the grinding wheel and the Dremel for, to smooth out next. So when you're all done this part, you want to be able to rub your hand without a glove over the outside and the inside and not catch on any sharp pieces of metal. That's the name of the game. But I like to, because I don't want my burner to sit directly on the support at the bottom. I want there to be just a little bit of gap. Here, I'll show you. And there's a little gap there. I like to cut that metal out there and there to the leg, and then from there to this leg, and from there over to this leg, just to get a little bit more airflow into it when I'm using it as a wood burning stove. Okay, this is going to sit like this on the stand. So what I need to do now is I need to bend these pieces inside the can that are going to support the wood burner on the inside. But before I do that, I just want to bend just a little bit the top of each one of these in just a little bit. And that's so it can grip the bottom of the pop can when I'm using a pop can stove. Doesn't have to be very much, just a little bit bent like that. Make sure it's even. Okay, and once I've done that, then I can go ahead and bend each one of these to the inside of the can, and I want them to be as even as possible all the way around. So I use a pair of pliers to do that. So so they'll bend in the right spot. And then just push them into the can like so. And we'll adjust those as needed later, just like that. Now this is the windscreen and pot stand, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend these pieces in now. And we're going to try and do that evenly, so again I'll use a pair of pliers to bend it in so I get them even. And when you're done, it should look like that, and the pot should sit level. There. And I just take the grinder and grind off these really sharp edges where I cut through. Just round them off a little bit. Okay, so the next finicky part is I want to mark on the base where I need to cut channels to accept these little bits here on the burner, so they'll snap into place in the base. And so I want to get this on here so that it's as level as I can get it, not off to one side or the other side or off the back, but right in the sweet spot in the middle, level. And I do that with a pot of water, and you want to be really sure now. It'll save you a lot of trouble leveling it in the wilderness later. Now I think I've got that set up pretty good, so I'll just put a pan of water on there, and that looks level to me. Now without moving it too much, I want to very carefully mark off with my black pen where these legs are. Like so. So you should be able to see there, I've got 3 marks where I want them, the width of each support in the bottom of the burner, because that's where I'm going to cut my channels. I'll try a little test fit here just to see if they're going to fit in there yet. Not quite. So need to be ground a little bit more. We'll try a little test fit again just to see how we're doing. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That one just needs a little... Oh, no, that one's good too. Hey, I think we got it. Now, if you've done a really good job, you should be able to pick it up by the burner and the base does not fall off. And just to make my life a little easier, I mark the back of the burner with a little marker. That way I know which leg goes into which hole when I'm out in the field. Makes it a lot easier to put it together. So now I need the mesh sink strainer. I'll just take this out of the package here. And I do a little reshaping. I do a little reshaping. As you see, it's designed to fit inside of a drain, and I want it to be a nice cone shape. So I very gently reshape this. And when you get it shaped exactly the way you want it, it should drop right down and sit on top of those supports inside the can like that. So that will allow me to burn wood, but then if I want to use solid fuel, I use this. I put that in there, and it fits in there nicely. Or I can put in my homemade pop can, and it sits on there really nice, with my windscreen and pot stand on top, and then my pot. Voila! If you have a larger diameter pot, it just fits on top like that. Now everything except for the sturdy base packs up nice and neatly inside each other and goes inside the world famous cook kit. Ready for my next adventure. Now you might be asking yourself, could I use the burner without the base? And the answer is yes, you could, but this is rather tippy, especially when you've got a large diameter pot on the top of it, and you don't want your meal tipping over while you're trying to cook it, and that's why I put it on this sturdy base. Plus this part here, when you're using it as a wood stove, a stick stove, you can point towards the wind and it actually helps drive more air into the wood burning part of the stove. So there you have it for all those people that are asking me how I build my DIY stick stove. There'll be a lot more detail in the description down below, and you can always email me at EconoChallenge@live.com if you have any questions. So thank you very much for watching. If you've reached the end of the video and you want to learn more about the world famous cook kit featuring my DIY wood pellet stove, then all you need to do is click this link right here, and that will take you to a playlist of videos. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to your comments down below. Bye for now.